And joining us now is Rabbi Harry Rozenberg, who does a lot of very interesting projects, but he is the co-founder of Trippy VC and has done a lot of work and research into the idea of psychedelics in Judaism in ancient times. Welcome back to the show, Harry.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So let's dive a little bit deeper. We're hearing about this all the time. People that are delving into these things that maybe 20 years ago, like, oh, you're doing drugs, don't do that. But there's something to it. So please explain why this is in the consciousness now, even of people that are not just trying to escape life.
I appreciate it. And first of all, I love that you said drugs, because really that's like the core of the whole issue, because really these are medicines, plant medicines that come from the earth. And the reason they're called drugs is because of drug companies who are producing drugs, like pharmaceutical industry, who lobby and create a protocol that cause these things to have become illegal. And so this is like the first step, is just realizing we're dealing with ancient plant medicine that people have been using to help heal for thousands of years. There's a little bit of a taboo around it in Judaism, because certain tribes in the world who are still using these medicines created ritual around these ceremonies. So the Jewish people are always like keeping arm's length from things that seem to be idol worship. But that would be like a tribe who takes water and makes a ritual ceremony around it. So we're like, no, we don't drink water. No, water's essential. And so what we see for thousands of years, all these ancient cultures, and as we've spoken about, including Judaism and the Holy Temple, have been inhaling the mixture of different plants, which cause certain functions in the brain to open up and allow people to think in a higher level of consciousness. And when we say in the Temple of Israel, we spoke about when the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, was inhaling on Yom Kippur, he was erasing sin from the sin of Adam, which we've come to understand potentially to be erasing generational trauma. And now we're dealing with a traumatized generation. You know, everyone has some type of trauma, whether it's in their own life or generational trauma. So we're demystifying basically these plants that help heal, and people are using it to alleviate suffering. And from Judaism, this is like the most kosher thing you could do, because to heal, there's almost anything you could do in the Torah. There are very few things you can't do according to the Talmud.
So in ancient times, when people weren't focusing on mindfulness and trauma and issues with their parents and things like that, what were the basis of the usage? So when we're hearing like some of these prophecies from some of the ancients, like, could we assume they were able to access this divine information because they were using plant-based
Two things is very important
medicine?
to know is, one is like, the priests of these ancient religions are the ones who preserve the plant knowledge and the plant medicine. But we always have to understand the most psychedelic and the most psychoactive chemical in humanity, which is DMT, dimethyltryptamine, is also endogenously flowing in our own body, which means you naturally produce the most psychedelic chemical in the world when you're going to dream at night. It's secreting from your pineal gland, the eyeball lodged in the middle of your brain. This is just science. So we can't say for sure that the prophets of Israel were taking this one chemical from the earth to open up this part of their mind. Very easy to naturally have this experience. The psychedelic experience, basically, if you were in the proper school of thought and trained, we don't have this information today, but we know it's scientifically possible that someone could have the same exact experience without consuming it from a plant.
Right, exactly.
And we believe in the future this will come back to humanity. Similar to this is the plague of darkness in Egypt. We say it wasn't really dark, it was abundant light. And you ever shine a high beam flashlight in someone's light, they can't see. And this light that was coming into the minds of humanity at that time was so great, it caused the Egyptians to like be so scared and like fearful, crawl into little balls on the floor. But it said for the Israelites, we had this light in our houses. This, we believe, according to our sages, was a light inside of the mind that we were able to dwell within. And the fascinating thing is, they say in the Messianic era, the same response will happen. There will be a group of people who are going to be very, in a state of fear, and a group of people who are going to bask in this light. And in the psychedelic world, you see the same exact reaction with this plant medicine. There are certain people who are going to take this plant medicine and go into a state of fear. It's challenging for them. Their ego is on the stakes. Everything they know, all their security is getting challenged because they're healing and they're holding on to their false realities. And some people just have this amazing time with light. So we see this one thing called light can cause people to be in a state of fear or in a state of total, complete conscious elevation.
But what is it that it's doing that's healing the trauma? Is it just seeing the trauma that you're not conscious of and that heals it?
It's a great question. So I believe scientifically what's happening is we're storing traumas on the frontal cortex of our brain, on these neurological networks. So it means if a dog bit me when I'm 4 years old, I'll process dogs as dangerous, and now when I'm 20-something, I hear a dog bark, I'm going to get in a state of fear. But that dog may be safe, but my brain is trying to protect me, like my brain has my back. My brain's like, Harry, you don't know better, so I know, so I'm gonna keep you safe from dogs. But sometimes we do that and we blanket things that we don't need to. We don't have the power of discernment, our brain at least. When you take these plant medicines, it hyperactivates this frontal part of your brain where you're storing these memories, and it's like Drano down a clogged sink. You know, you have a clogged sink and you pour the Drano, it unclogs the sink. So a lot of these memories that we're storing, these pains, they like loosen up and they flush
like
away.
Cobwebs.
Correct. And the natural byproduct of taking away blockages is we start to feel our organic light again. Humans are naturally shining. We have a natural light inside of us. So people who are doing this feel like they've done 10 or 20 years of therapy in one day, in one night.
Wow.
And so some people who have been in an absolute state of depression and misery their whole life, after one psychedelic experience, they will feel like a light bulb turns on inside of their head and they have a new lease on life. So we have to be compassionate to humanity right now and realize this is important because a lot of people are suffering and there's no need for that. And there's a lot of for-profit companies standing in the way of them and healing, trying to keep them suffering. And it's just a total misunderstanding. I mean,
wow, Rabbi Harry, thank you so much. It's always so interesting talking to you. Much appreciated.